Throughout my entire life, my father has mostly never been there. Ever since I was born, um, he just wasn't there. Up until like the age of 5, I kept asking myself and my mom, who is my dad? Every man that my mom interacted with, I would always ask my mom, is that my father? But every time I asked, she'd say no. Up until one day, she made me look out our window, 'cause we live in an apartment, and she pointed to a gray black car, and she said, "Do you know who that is?" And I said no. She said, "It's your dad." And me being 5 years old, obviously I was excited, I was thrilled. But little did I know that was probably one of the worst moments that could ever happen to me meeting my dad. Because once I met my dad, he come in and come out of my life. He lied to my mom, he lied to me, and he just be a bad person in general. He was never there on my birthday, on Christmas, on Thanksgiving, and he wasn't even there when I was born. He didn't care enough to even give me a name. My mom was devastated. My mom was depressed, and I had to see her go through that. Because as soon as I was born, all she could remember is his face. Because I just reminded her of him. Sure, she loved me, she cared for me, but a memory that always stuck with her is her trusting my dad. He left. Before I was even born, he was gone. He went to go marry another woman, and he would barely even visit. The day that I met him, he just kept on doing that. Even after telling me straight to my face that he loves me, but he never loved me enough to stay, or to even get me a gift for my birthday, get me something for Christmas, or even come over for the holidays. He never wished me happy birthday, and he just never be there in general. The only time he'd actually see me would be on the weekends whenever he needed something, or he just wanted me around. He'd carry me around like an accessory, and I absolutely hated that. We never had son and father like conversations. Sure, we went fishing, but that was only like 2 times. He'd promised me he'd take me fishing more, but of course he lied. I never went out with him again after that. I was 8 years old. He'd also criticize how I looked. He'd over exaggerate how much I ate. Because growing up I was a chubby kid. I knew I was a chubby kid, but he kept constantly reminding me of that. And the way that I dressed, the way that I spoke, and the way I even acted around him. He always criticized the way that I was. He criticized me for being me. And he just was a straight up terrible father. Up until 12 years old, I told him I never wanted to see him again. And that was the moment, I think, for the first time in my life, I've ever made him cry. Sure, he'd cry, but deep down, I also knew that he was lying. At 12 years old, I realized all he did all his life was lie and be a bad person. And deep down, it hurt. It hurt a lot. Being 12 years old, knowing that I have to tell this to my own father, for my own good, for my mother's own good and his own good. He had 12 years to change, and he never did. He could never do it for my mom or for me, his own son. By the age of 13, I got into a depressed state. I realized that I'll never have a good father figure. Well, at least one by blood. And, well, sure, I could have a stepdad, but I already have one. He isn't the best, but he's better than my dad, and I do appreciate him. After so much time, I just look back and wonder, why couldn't he do better? Why couldn't he just love me for me? Why did he have to lie? All this could have been avoided if he just made the right decisions. These decisions weren't hard to make, and he just couldn't make them. And I still wonder why. Why couldn't he be a father that I always wanted, or at least a father I needed?